In the book of Luke 23:21, Jesus said to women of Jerusalem, he said, don't weep for me. Don't what? No, he said, don't weep for me. He said, weep for yourself. He said, don't you know that is evil? That right before you a tree that is not meant to fall is falling. He said, if a tree that is not meant to fall is falling, what will happen to the one that is meant to fall? 23:31. I would like us to look at that. You see, because sometimes when people die, people will be crying. I said, excuse me, the guy that died and you are crying, is he worthy to live? Has he lived like a man that should live? Something happened during the synod. I was asking one locus, I don't know her from one of the branches. I said, I've not seen you. What happened to you? She said, one of her brothers died. And then she said, after 1 minute, before I say another thing, she said, well, he's meant to die. I said, what do you mean? She looked at me for 1 minute and said, Daddy, because he lived like a man that should die. So before he died, I know he would die. There is something one of the pastors told me one day. One of the local army intelligent pastors. He said he saw his sister. His sister. He said he called his sister and said, sit down. And the sister sat down. He said, why I call you to sit down with you is to tell you, is to weep for you. Now you are alive. He said, because the day you will die, I will no longer have chance to weep. I am weeping for you, now you're still living. I said, you did? He said, yes. So I said, how do you know? Why do you know that she will die? He said she has lived her life, prepared for death through her lifestyle. So he knew that she would die. And the lady eventually died after a while. God will not preserve dry trees. (23:31). God will not preserve dry trees. He said, for if they do these things, they do these things in a green tree. You know King James. He said, what shall be done in the dry? So Jesus said to the daughters of Jerusalem, he said to them, I would like you to hear this intelligence. He said to them, he said, don't weep for me. You go and weep for yourself and for your daughters. Because if a green tree dies, then a dry tree will not be around. Jesus knew that he was a green tree. And he knew that those women were dry tree. And he knew that it was them that was preserving him. It was him that was preserving them. And they want to kill him. He knew that when he dies, they will all wither. That is a high intelligence. It doesn't take me time to know when I see a dry tree. And I don't pray for God to give a dry tree life. For a dry tree to have immortality. Until that tree is converted into green one. Otherwise that prayer will be stupidity. Now this is a high teaching of Zoe. And I would like you to look at that scripture, very beautiful, from 26. You will just like a beautiful scripture like that. And then I will leave it. He said, and as they led him away, they led upon one Simon the Cyrene,
coming out of the country,
and on him they laid the cross that they might bear it after Jesus.
And they followed him a great company of people, and of women which also bewailed and lamented him.
He said, you know, women are very kind. They followed him and they were there crying and lamenting and bewailing him. You know, women like messiahs. They like very powerful men. Men of influence. Jesus was like that. So they followed him, they bewailed him, they lamented. And then in 28, he turned to them. Excuse me, can I tell you something? One of the greatest miracles of a man's life is to know the value of his life. And to know the company that follow you because of that value. I mean, the value of your life. Can you be able to look at your life and know the worth? And then know what that life can attract? The kind of attention. Jesus knew the worth of his life. And then he knew the worth of the women that were making noise around him. In the name of identifying with pain. Now, if you look at 28 there, he said, but Jesus said unto them, go ahead.
Daughters of Jerusalem,
weep
not for me.
He said, weep not for me,
but weep for yourselves and for your children.
He said, go and weep. You saw a man like me, they want to kill me. Is it you that will leave? Can I go on to stop, to go on with another teaching by it? Listen, can I tell you something? Satan does not have power to kill certain people. Let me say it again. I say Satan, because his power is not omnipotent. I say Satan's power is not what? His power is not omnipotent, so he cannot kill anybody he wants. People have to lose their life before they can die. So Satan inspires people to lose their life. What I said, he inspires them. He inspires people to lose their life, not to kill them. Because they have to lose their life before he can kill them. So losing life is more precarious than dying. That is bringing me to something I want to go on to explain on you must not die. In John chapter 10 verse 10, Jesus came and said, I came that you might have life. And then have it what? Now the purpose of the coming of Jesus is to share God's kind of life. So when you are born incorruptible by the word, you are exempted from death, because now you're a member of God's family. There are two scriptures I want to explain. If you look up, I'm going to give you this gift. This scripture is why I will never be in want. You will not hear that I am in want all my life. Why? Because the life I have is a life that creates. I said the life I have is a life that creates. In chapter 10, 17 and 18, he said, my Father gave me life, gave me power over my life, to lay it down and to take it, because he is a green tree. And then somebody else said, we don't know when we will die. Shame. Shame.